Imagine a 600-ton steel beast hauling 125 freight cars and still pushing 50 miles an hour, while another monster screams down the rails at over 90 miles per hour with thousands of tons of cargo trailing behind. Forget what you think about freight trains being slow. Some of the most powerful machines ever built were engineered for raw, terrifying speed under crushing loads. From a 7,987 horsepower duplex giant to an 8,600 horsepower European bullet, these are the 10 fastest freight locomotives ever tested. Number 10. EMD GP40-2. We're starting our countdown with one of the most successful and recognizable freight locomotives in North American history. The EMD GP, built by General Motors Electromotive Division between April 1972 and December 1986, the GP42 was a 4-axle BB configuration diesel-electric powered by EMD's legendary 645E3 16-cylinder turbocharged engine, producing 3,000 horsepower. Over 1,143 units were built, making it one of the most prolific freight locomotives ever produced. What makes the GP42 stand out for speed isn't just its standard 65 mph maximum. With its 62 to 15 gearing, EMD rated the GP42 for speeds between 65 and 70 mph, while some specially geared variants for express freight and passenger-rated commuter operations were rated for top speeds up to 80 mph. The locomotive measures 59 feet 2 inches long, weighs around 250,000 pounds, and produces 61,000 pounds of starting tractive effort. The GP42 became the workhorse of countless American railroads. It hauled merchandise freight, intermodal trains, and even commuter consists from coast to coast. Even today, decades after production ended, hundreds of GP42s remain in active service on Class 1, regional, and short-line railroads. Its combination of reliability, decent speed, and brute pulling power earned it a permanent place in railroading history. When you see a freight train moving at high speed on an American main line today, there's a good chance there's still a GP42 somewhere in the consist, and that 3,000 horsepower 645 prime mover is still doing exactly what it was designed to do. Number 9. Bombardier TRAXX F140, crossing the Atlantic to Europe. Number 9 is one of the most successful electric freight locomotives ever built, the Bombardier TRAXX F140, now sold under the Alstom brand. Originally developed by Bombardier Transportation in the late 1990s, the TRAXX is a modular family of mainline electric and diesel locomotives. The acronym TRAXX stands for Transnational Railway Applications with Extreme Flexibility, a nod to its ability to operate across multiple European countries and electrification systems. The F in F140 stands for freight, and the 140 tells you the maximum operating speed. The freight version of the TRAXX delivers up to 5,600 kilowatts of power, which works out to roughly 7,010 horsepower. That's all in a relatively compact 18.9-meter long, 85-ton locomotive with a bobo wheel arrangement. The first TRAXX freight locomotives were delivered in January 2000 to Railien Deutschland, now DB Cargo, designated as German Class 8. What makes the TRAXX especially impressive is its multi-system capability. The F140 MS variant can run on 15 kV 16.7 Hz AC, 1.5 kV DC, and 3 kV DC, meaning a single locomotive can haul a freight train from Germany through the Netherlands into Belgium and France without ever stopping to swap engines at the border. More than 1,800 TRAXX locomotives have been sold across Europe, hauling freight and passenger trains for nearly every major operator. At 87 mph with thousands of tons behind it, the TRAXX is a perfect example of how modern European freight engineering combines speed, power, and absolute flexibility. Number 8. EMD SD70ACe. Number 8 is one of the most dominant heavy-haul freight locomotives in service worldwide today. The EMD SD70ACe, introduced in 2005 by Electromotive Diesel and now built by Progress Rail. The SD70ACe was created specifically for heavy-haul freight applications worldwide. It uses a 16-cylinder EMD 710 G3C T2 prime mover, producing 4,300 horsepower with full AC traction. The locomotive features the EM2000 microprocessor control system and EMD's famous self-steering HTCR2 trucks. The numbers are staggering. The SD70ACe weighs between 420,000 and 43,000 pounds, depending on configuration, and produces up to 200,000 pounds of starting tractive effort. Continuous tractive effort hits 157,000 pounds at 12 miles per hour. That's the kind of pulling power that lets a single SD70ACe haul thousands of tons up steep grades. And despite all that bulk, the SD70ACe is rated for a top speed of 70 miles per hour, which is incredibly fast for a heavy-haul freight locomotive of its size and weight. It's also one of the most widely used freight locomotives in the world. Thousands of SD70ACe platform units operate across North America, South America, the Middle East, Africa, and Australia. In North America, the SD70ACe runs for Union Pacific, BNSF Railway, Norfolk Southern, Kansas City Southern, Canadian Pacific, and even regional carriers like Montana Rail Link. Union Pacific alone rosters over 680 of these monsters. With 4,300 horsepower roaring out of that 16-cylinder 710 engine and a sustained 70 mph top speed under heavy load, the SD70ACe is exactly what modern freight railroading runs on. Number 7. GE AC6000. For number 7, we have one of the absolute giants of freight power, the GE AC6000CW. Built between 1995 and 2001 by GE Transportation, this is among the world's most powerful single-engine diesel locomotives ever built. The AC6000CW was designed at the height of a horsepower race in the mid-1990s between EMD with their SD90 Mac and General Electric with this monster. The goal was a single 6,000 horsepower locomotive. To get there, GE worked with Deutz MWM of Germany in 1994 to design the 6,250 horsepower 7HDL16 engine, a colossal twin turbocharged 16-cylinder power plant. This 6-axle AC traction beast was built specifically for extreme high horsepower service, like pulling heavy coal and ore trains. Most units were purchased by Union Pacific and CSX Transportation, with the only other operator being BHP Billiton Iron Ore in Australia. About 314 AC6000CWs were built in total. Like nearly all modern North American freight locomotives, the AC6000CW is rated for a 70 mph top speed. Now here's what makes the AC6000CW legendary: its place in the world's most extreme freight train ever assembled. On June 21, 2001, 8 of BHP Billiton's Mount Newman Railway AC6000s worked together to set the world record for the heaviest and longest train. They hauled 99,734 tons of iron ore in 682 wagons over 275 kilometers between Yandi Mine and Port Hedland in Western Australia. The train was 7.3 kilometers long. Yes, over 4.5 miles of train pulled by just 8 AC6000CW locomotives. That's a record that still stands today and probably always will. The AC6000CW didn't have a smooth life, though. The 7HDL engine ran into serious mechanical problems, especially with vibration and twin turbocharger reliability. To address this, GE had to increase engine mass to lower the resonant frequency, which then created turbocharger issues. Full production was pushed back until 1998 because of these problems. Many original AC6000CWs were eventually repowered with newer GE Evo 16 engines. CSX downrated them to 4,600 horsepower, classifying them as ES46AE and ES46AH, while Union Pacific replaced their 7HDL engines with proven 7FDL16 engines and reclassified them as 4,400 horsepower units. Even with all these compromises, the AC6000CW remains one of the most powerful single-engine diesel locomotives ever built and a true icon of late 1990s freight power. With its 70 mph capability and ability to deliver up to 6,000 horsepower of pure pulling muscle, this beast was, and still is, one of the fastest freight locomotives ever produced when measured by power-to-train weight ratio. Number 6. EMD DDA40X Centennial. At number 6, we have what is still, to this day, the most powerful diesel-electric locomotive ever built on a single frame, the legendary EMD DDA40X Centennial. Built by General Motors' Electromotive division between 1969 and 1971, Exclusively for the Union Pacific Railroad, the DDA40X earned its Centennial nickname because the very first unit, number 6900, was completed just in time to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Golden Spike ceremony. 47 units were built in total, numbered 6900 to 6946. The specs on this machine are staggering. The DDA40X measures 98 feet 5 inches long, making it the longest diesel locomotive ever built for revenue service. It weighs 545,000 pounds or 270 tons. Under the hood, you'll find not one, but two 16-cylinder EMD 645E3A turbocharged prime movers, each rated at 3,300 horsepower. The frame was so massive that EMD's own factory couldn't fabricate it. They had to outsource the job to the John Moore Company of Chicago. The wheel arrangement is a wild DD configuration, two 4-axle trucks supporting that nearly 100-foot-long car body. But here's what earns the DDA40X its spot on this list: the speed. With its 59-18 gearing, the Centennial was rated for a top speed of 90 miles per hour hauling freight. That's not a passenger locomotive, that's a 270-ton freight monster with 6,600 horsepower roaring out of two prime movers, designed to run at 90 miles per hour with hundreds of cars trailing behind. Union Pacific built these specifically because their earlier SD45s, even at 3,600 horsepower, weren't enough for high-speed transcontinental freight service. UP wanted one locomotive that could replace a whole lash-up, and the DDA40X delivered. The Centennials were assigned to UP's hottest, most time-sensitive merchandise trains: Chicago to the Pacific Northwest, Chicago to the Bay Area, Chicago to LA. Crews loved them because pulling a 6900 series meant you were almost certainly getting a fast run. During the late 1970s, the DDA40X was often paired with one or two specially geared SD42H Fast 40s on UP's priority freights, and together they dominated the transcontinental main line. Each Centennial racked up over 2 million miles of service before being retired from revenue duty in 19. Today, 11 Centennials survive in museums, and one, number 6936, has been preserved in operational condition. It was donated by Union Pacific to the railroading heritage of Midwest America in 2022 and is still used for excursions and the occasional revenue freight move. At 6,600 horsepower, 90 miles per hour, and 98 feet of pure diesel muscle, the EMD DDA40X Centennial stands as the absolute high watermark of American single-unit diesel power and one of the fastest freight locomotives ever to thunder down a North American mainline. Number 5. GE S64ACe Evolution Series. Number 5 takes us to the freight locomotive that has dominated American railroads for 2 decades, the GE ES64ACe Evolution Series. Introduced in 2005 to meet the EPA's stricter Tier 2 emission standards, the ES64ACe was GE Transportation's successor to the highly successful AC4400CW. The name decodes simply Evolution Series, 4,400 horsepower, AC traction. Under the hood is GE's 12-cylinder GVO prime mover, a 4-stroke combustion engine that delivers the same horsepower as a 16-cylinder FDL with much lower emissions and better fuel economy. The numbers are seriously impressive. The ES64ACe weighs about 432,000 pounds in heavy ballasted form, generates up to 198,000 pounds of starting tractive effort, and produces 166,000 pounds of continuous tractive effort. The kicker: its top speed is 75 miles per hour, which is slightly faster than competing modern heavy-haul freight locomotives. The ES64ACe has been ordered by virtually every Class I railroad in North America: Union Pacific, BNSF, CSX, Norfolk Southern, Ferromex, CPKC, and Canadian National. Union Pacific alone operates around 897 ES44ACs and refers to them as the C45ACTEE. Over 4,000 ES44ACs have been built. As one of the most popular freight locomotives in modern history, this locomotive has become the standard against which all other heavy-haul diesels are measured. With a 75 top speed and 4,400 horsepower of GE bow muscle, the ES44ACe is exactly what dominates American freight rails today. Fast, powerful, and everywhere you look. Number 4. Norfolk and Western Class A. For number 4, we return to steam with one of the most beautifully engineered fast freight steam locomotives ever built, the Norfolk and Western Class A. The NNW Class A was a class of 43 simple articulated 2-664 steam locomotives built by Norfolk and Western's own Roanoke shops in Roanoke, Virginia, between 1936 and 19. These were homemade locomotives. The NNW never bought them from Baldwin, Alco, or Lima. They built their own. What makes the Class A so impressive for our list is how well it combined power and speed. The Class A weighed 533,000 pounds, about 200,000 pounds less than a big boy. Its continuous power curve peaked at an astonishing 6,325 drawbar horsepower at 40 to 45 milliamperes at the original 275 psi boiler pressure. On the route between Williamson, West Virginia and Portsmouth, Ohio, the Class A could haul 13,000 tons of drag freight at speeds up to 42 mi. Between Portsmouth and Columbus, Ohio, it was rated at 5,200 tons of fast freight, hitting 65 milliamperes, and on passenger runs it could reach 70 mi/hours. That kind of speed on an articulated freight locomotive was almost unheard of. The Class A featured cast steel frames and Timken roller bearings on nearly every surface. The last 5 units even had McGill multi-roll roller bearings on their side and main rods, making them the only articulated locomotives to ever use such advanced friction-reducing technology. In 1952, the NNW tested a Class A against a 4-unit EMD F7 diesel set. The test was a draw on fuel costs, but diesels won out for lower maintenance. Today, only one Class A survives, number 1218, preserved at the Virginia Museum of Transportation in Roanoke. It's the only surviving 2-664 steam locomotive in the world. Number 3. Union Pacific Challenger 4664. At number 3, we have what many consider the most successful articulated steam locomotive design ever built, the Union Pacific Challenger 466. Union Pacific took delivery of the very first Ford 664 in 1936 from the American Locomotive Company. These newly named Challengers were designed for fast freight service across UP's transcontinental main line. Between 1936 and 1944, Alco built 105 Challengers for the Union Pacific in 5 batches. The Challengers were designed by UP's chief mechanical engineer Otto Jabelman to handle mountain grades at speed, something previous articulated locomotives simply couldn't do. Now here are the specs that make the Challenger one of the fastest freight locomotives in history. Each Challenger featured 69-inch driving wheels, mammoth wheels normally only seen on passenger engines because freight locomotives usually need smaller wheels for leverage. The boiler operated at 280 psi, a pressure usually reserved for passenger locomotives. The 2 articulated engines together produced 97,350 pounds of tractive effort, and the Challenger was regularly called upon to operate at speeds up to 70 milliamperes in fast freight service. Speeds in excess of 60 milliamperes, unheard of on most other railroads using articulated steam locomotives, became commonplace on the Union Pacific. Each Challenger was nearly 122 feet long and weighed over 1 million pounds with its tender. They hauled both fast freight and the occasional passenger train through mountain territory to California and Oregon. Only 2 Challengers survive today. Number 3 is 97 is on static display in North Platte, Nebraska. Number 3 is 9085 was donated to the railroading heritage of Midwest America in 2022, where it's currently being restored back to operation. With a sustained 70 millitrip top speed under freight loads, the UP Challenger remains one of the fastest steam freight locomotives ever to thunder down a North American main line. What truly cemented the Challenger's legacy is how widely it was copied. After Union Pacific proved the 4-664 design was a brilliant blend of speed and power, 8 other railroads went on to acquire their own Challengers. The second largest Challenger fleet was on Northern Pacific, which acquired 47 engines in 3 groups between 1936 and 1944. Other Challenger operators included the Delaware and Hudson, Western Maryland, Spokane, Portland, and Seattle, Great Northern, Rio Grande, and Clinchfield. In total, 252 Challengers were built across all railroads, a testament to just how successful this fast freight design truly was. The Challenger took the articulated steam locomotive concept, which had been limited to slow drag freight service for decades, and turned it into a genuine high-speed freight machine. Before the Challenger, fast articulated was practically an oxymoron. After the Challenger, fast articulated locomotives became the standard for any railroad serious about moving heavy tonnage at speed across mountain divisions. Number 2. Siemens ES64F DB Class 152. For number 2, we have one of the most powerful electric freight locomotives ever built, the Siemens ES64F, known in Germany as DB Class 150, part of Siemens' famous Euro Sprinter family. The ES64F was built starting in 19. The product name decodes neatly: ES for Euro Sprinter, 64 for the 6,400 kilowatts of power at the rail, and F for freight. That 6,400 kilowatts converts to a staggering 8,600 horsepower in one electric locomotive, more than double the power output of a typical North American diesel-electric freight locomotive. The ES64F is rated for a top speed of 140 kilometers per hour, or 87 miles per hour. The original German order was for 195 units, though it was reduced to 170 because Austrian Federal Railways refused to certify the design for use in Austria, citing concerns about the axle-hung traction motors damaging mountain track. Today, Class 152s operate across Germany hauling heavy freight under DB cargo, replacing the older Class 150 and Class 151 locomotives. This is a locomotive with around 300 kilonewtons of tractive effort, modern digitally controlled anti-wheel slip systems, and full passenger service capability, though it almost exclusively works freight. The 4-axle Bulbo design with 2 bogies of 2 powered axles each makes the ES64F a perfect heavy-haul electric locomotive for the demanding main lines of Central Europe. At 8,600 horsepower and 87 millipower hauling thousands of tons, the Siemens ES64F represents the absolute peak of European electric freight engineering. And just to give you a sense of how serious Siemens is about speed, in 2006, a related Euro Sprinter, the ES64F4, set a world record of 357 kilometers late, making it the fastest conventional electric locomotive ever recorded. Number 1. The Siemens ES64F4 Class 109. And finally, at number 1, we have the most flexible, most capable, and arguably the fastest mainline electric freight locomotive ever built, the Siemens ES64F4, designated Class 109 in Germany. The ES64F4 is the multi-system upgrade of the legendary ES64F. It's an electric freight locomotive producing 6,400 kilowatts, that's 8,600 horsepower, with a top speed of 140 kilometers per hour, or 87 miles per hour. But what makes the F4 truly revolutionary is in its name. The 4 stands for 4 electric power systems. This single locomotive is fully equipped to operate on all 4 major European electrification standards. That means a Class 109 can haul a freight train from Germany, through the Netherlands, into Belgium, down through France, across into Italy, and beyond, without ever stopping to swap to a different locomotive at any border. For European freight operators dealing with cross-border logistics, the ES64F4 isn't just a locomotive, it's a key that unlocks an entire continent's rail network. The Class 89 features an electrical energy recovery brake system that feeds power back into the catenary during braking, dramatically improving energy efficiency. It's equipped with multiple safety systems for different countries, including the European Train Control System, as well as being in service with Deutsche Bahn AG as Class 189. It also serves as Class RE 474 for SPB in Switzerland and as Class EU 45 for PKP in Poland. Some units are even available for lease through the Dispolok pool. When you combine its 8,600 horsepower output, its 87 mile-per-hour top speed, its multi-system flexibility, its energy recovery systems, and its ability to haul thousands of tons of freight across an entire continent on a single run, the Siemens ES64F4 stands as the most advanced, most powerful, and one of the fastest freight locomotives ever tested and put into regular service. It is the absolute king of the modern electric freight era, and that's why it earns the #1 spot on our countdown. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more incredible locomotive content, and ring the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.